Welcome to Northern Territory Election Night Live. Polls have just closed and counting is now underway to determine whether Labor wins a third term or the Country Liberals seize back power for only the second time in the 21st century. As the Territory confronts economic and crime challenges, who will voters back to take the top end forward for the next 4 years? And with an impending federal election not far away, will there be any lessons from tonight's result for Anthony Albanese and Peter Dutton? I'm joined live by our frank and fearless expert panel. CLP Senator, Shadow Minister for Indigenous Australians, Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, Political Editor Andrew Clennell, and Labor's former Deputy Chief Minister, Nicole Manison. Great to see you all. Senator, first you. What are you expecting tonight?
Look, I think what we're expecting is a really close race between CLP and Labor. I think we're either going to end up with a minority government for either side. Which way that'll fall, there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of different independents. So, I think we'll have a better idea toward the end of the night than certainly what we're doing now.
Indeed, that's right. There's a sense, I think, talking to CLP, they were bullish earlier in the week. I wonder that the quirks of the Northern Territory and the electoral system, will that see them get the majority?
I do think the CLP will form government. I'm not saying that's necessarily in majority, but even Labor people are talking that way. A Labor contact of mine in the Territory said today that there is a possibility of Labor forming minority government, but not a probability. And if you want to understand why, it's crime, 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 and it's time is what I would say about it. After 8 years in government, most of the time since the year 2000 in government, and crime going up to the extent that it has, partly being blamed on changes in policy in the Territory, Labor policy, you can see why the swing might be there for Leah Finocchiaro tonight.
Nicole Manison, one Labor person said to me today, it's all about that red wall of North Darwin, the northern suburbs of Darwin, where a lot of public servants live, and Labor has always held those seats when it's held office in this century. What's your sense of things? That's where you're from. You know it.
Well, we're going for a third term of government, and as you know, it is a big challenge when you go and ask people to put their faith back in you and get that third term. So we're under no illusions here tonight. There will be a swing against Labor, but will it be enough for the CLP to get to 13 seats? There is definitely a pathway for Labor to be able to get to that 13 seats. We have got them already, but I'm seeing this as a very, very tight contest tonight. There are so many different possibilities of which way this could go, this election, and particularly with the different independents that might play a role. So I'm definitely not willing to make a call on it right now. I can't wait to see those first numbers come through. But this has been one of the strangest elections that I have been involved in.
And when you say strange, why is that?
Because there are different dynamics in different seats. There are some seats in the northern suburbs I am nervous about, and in the inner city, and in Palmerston. Whilst in the bush, I think there's opportunities to pick up seats too. And then I've heard some other stories about some interesting things happening in Alice Springs with the Greens. So, this truly is a really interesting play, and it's right across the Northern Territory.
Senator, the two seats I think that Nicole's alluding to there in the bush are Barkly and Namatjira. They're two seats held by the CLP, but not by a big margin.
No, that's right. Steve Edgington was only won by 6 votes at the last election, and for Namatjira, Bill only won by 18 votes. So it is going to be close for the two of them. But Steve is, he's well known. He's well loved. He did win with, a great deal of votes in Borroloola. But that is where the current Labor candidate is from. That's where she's from. So that's where the challenge comes in for Steve. And Bill, I think, will just have to, I think it's going to be close between him and Cheryl Lee.
I think Nicole touched on this. The quirk of this election and this electoral system, which I'm like Nicole, I think it's fascinating. I love watching these because it's so retail. When you've got 6,000 voters, you're an MP, you can meet and not just meet, but know well every one of your constituents.
Well, that's right. I mean, definitely for the more suburban seats, when it comes to the bush, you've got a vaster area to cover. You've got smaller groups of population in remote areas, so it's a bit more difficult to get out to those places. But certainly, and as Nicole mentioned, there's the Green issue in the seat of Breitling, where the local Green, Astor Hill, is born and bred. The redistribution in Breitling means that there are more of those who tend to vote toward the left sitting there. So, yeah, that's another one I think we've got to keep an eye on.
Yeah, you've got those small seats by number, vast territory. And as you said, there's one thing that unites, I think, a lot of them this election. That's their concern around crime.
Well, it's interesting when you look around the rest of the country, cost of living is the number one issue. Not the case here. I mean, you could argue there's some tie between cost of living and crime. And of course, cost of living is a big deal in the Northern Territory, but it's been put to me that crime has dominated. What does this mean federally? Well, both sides are saying maybe not that much to me, although they'll be out with their various spins tomorrow. And part of the reason for that is if crime is the dominant issue, of course, that is a territory issue. But I'll tell you what a win would do for Peter Dutton and his troops, given they don't hold power anywhere else. It would just give them a little bit of boost. They're expected to win in Queensland as well. And then they'd be hoping the dominoes would keep falling towards the federal election as well. So it would just give the Liberal and National parties a massive boost to win tonight. Already we're expecting they're definitely the favourites in Queensland, so it could be bang, bang. Nicole
Madison, the Chief Minister, she's been in office in that job for 8 months. There's been a real sense that she calls herself a centralist.
Yes.
Very pragmatic when it comes to crime. Has really run the campaign on her shoulders, and was pretty blunt, saying, I've moved away from the ideological approach of her predecessors.
Eva is somebody with what you see is what you get. And she is a very strong personality. She brings a lot of experience to the job and she is very firm in her views. But I think Eva has done a tremendous job since taking over as the Chief Minister. People wanted to see common sense decisions, and that's exactly what Eva has gone about doing, and she's listened. Eva is not somebody that is going to sit in the background and listen to people's personal ideology. She's going to go, what is best for the Northern Territory? What do we need to get done? And that's exactly what she's gone about doing. And I have to say the feedback about her has been that people see that she is very refreshing. They like her leadership style. They like the fact that she makes tough decisions and they think she's doing a good job. And that's even talking to people that I would classify as swing voters, and even some of my friends on the other side of the politics in the CLP have said, you know what, she's actually doing a good job.
Well, she's no nonsense, that's for sure.
That's for sure.
If your party does well tonight, I think she takes a great deal of credit on that result, if that is how it transpires.